Robots Radio presents
Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast.
I'm not usually a hat fan, but wow.
Jeg vil ikke være en dagger.
I'm really sipping on that dumb bitch juice today, and
Yeah, I am. But you know what? Someday I just might grow out of that, but you will never stop being a jerk.
All chocolate cakes are good. You're a fascist.
it's hideous.
It's horrible.
It's home. Angry white boy, let's
Hello, and welcome to Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast. The podcast where you're always lucky until you're not. That's Chad
And that's Simone LaRue. Gosh, that feels like it could just apply to our normal lives. Like, that just feels like it's
Truly.
a thing.
Yeah, if I look back at where I was at the beginning of Spooktober last year, Chad, what a time. What a thrilling journey.
It's been what a wild ride. It's almost been like we have been on a scary mission from start to finish of this last year. And you know what? I'm really hoping that we're coming to the end of this horror movie, and this is where we either, excel out onto the boat away from the creepy house, or the police have come and they're triaging everyone and everything's fine. And what I'm really, really not hoping for is a final act twist where we find out that the scary murderer has a twin brother, or the demon wasn't killed in the end. None of that twist ending at the end.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah, it would be good to avoid that. I think completely. Yeah, let's just have like a normal happy life, shall we? How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic.
Good. I'm glad we're in agreement. Now, if the universe would just get off our collective dicks, and that would be great. Thank you.
I mean, things are already much better. I feel like this time a year ago, I was in my hometown. I was working a job I did not like in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
And I was dealing with a depression that I didn't want to accept that I had, which was great. That was super fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time for all of us. The cries for help were loud and unabashed.
Other people's depression is valid, I realized, just not mine.
Of course. I mean, that's just the rules, isn't it? It's like, everyone else deserves a break. Everyone else deserves to have that peace and wellness, but not me.
Yeah.
I've got to work very, very hard. Are you crazy?
No. So on that note, what are you not drinking, Chad?
Yes, this is one of those very rare episodes where we are recording in the morning. It's a morning show recording, which means, we're trying not to drink, just I would rather not be classed as an alcoholic by our listeners, but yeah, so I'm just drinking a nice warming cup of tea this morning. How about you?
What kind of
drinking?
tea we talking?
Oh, just standards builder's tea with a little bit of... Okay, so don't judge me. Okay, I never have sugar in my tea. I refuse to have sugar in my tea.
Of course, sure.
Usually I have honey instead, but we're all out of honey. So instead I've put maple syrup in my tea.
Ooh, that sounds tasty though.
It is really, really tasty. It's like giving it like a rich sort of undertones. It's very, very nice. But I know there's a lot of people out there who would be like, maple syrup in your tea? That's not okay.
I think our Canadian listeners might appreciate it.
Yeah, well, this one's for you guys. Repping the Great White North. How about you? What are you drinking today?
I'm having a nice peppermint tea.
Ooh, fancy.
Also sugarless, because if you put sugar in your peppermint tea, you're a child.
Yeah, that's not right. You need to go and get some help if you put sugar in your peppermint tea. That's lovely. Do you put milk in your peppermint tea, or is it just straight tea bag and milk and water?
No, I'm not a monster. Who puts milk in their peppermint tea?
Oh, I've seen people do it, Simone. It's
my God.
Yeah. They're all in jail now.
Of course. Especially in the UK, you take your tea crimes very seriously.
Oh yeah, I would say that's in other places in the world, property is 9/10 of the law. Here in the UK, it's all about that tea.
Yeah. People have been convicted on how pale their tea is.
Exactly. So, like you said, it is the first week of Spooktober, which is our favorite month of all the months.
I'm so
this is where we
happy.
come alive. It's so good. I'm so glad it's finally here. And so for this episode, what is the first bit of Spooktober that we're doing? What are we covering this week?
So it's a bit of two things. I like to think of it as, like you said, the theme is like it's our birth year. These are horror movies that came out in 1993. They're the movies that made us, but they're also some really like classic moments of horror. And I think it's a nice base actually to start with. It was a great idea of yours.
Yeah, I think it's a good foundation on which to build, and it's very exciting. And I loved going back and watching these movies and being like, wow, 1993 was a very wild time. I like just the dichotomy between these two horror movies. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah. No, it was certainly a joyride.
Exactly. So we are doing Needful Things and Leprechaun, both of 1993, the year that we were born. Both of us just dewy skinned and dewy eyed at this point back in 93. Very exciting. So
I wouldn't do to have that skin back.
All you have to do, Simone, is just drink baby's blood. It's very easy to get that dewy complexion.
I'm trying. Finding a supplier is tricky at best.
Yeah, that's true. That is very, very true. My girlfriend and I watched Amityville Horror again last night, the one with Ryan Reynolds.
What a banger.
I know, right? It's such a great classic horror film, and it was just wild to see Ryan Reynolds again, and like he hasn't changed. Like he clearly has a great supplier of baby's blood.
Oh my God, whoever does like his work, props to them. Aces.
Incredible.
He's aged so well, and not at all.
Yeah, it's wild because like Chloe Grace Moretz was in that movie and she was, a baby in that. I know, right? It's crazy. And then she's aged worse than Ryan Reynolds purely on the basis that she has aged, whereas Ryan Reynolds is just eternal. It's bonkers.
Isn't Billie Piper the wife in that? Or
no.
Oh, she just looks like Billie Piper.
She looks a lot like Billie Piper. Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay. Yeah, but it's not Billie Piper. No.
Okay.
But
noted. Yeah. Good to know.
Good. So what do you want to do first? Because I mean, we're both drinking tea, so I think it's like, how do we do this? This is unprecedented.
So I roll through with Leprechaun. I feel like it's pretty quick and dirty.
Yes, I'm doing Leprechaun though, right?
No, I said I was doing it. I can do Needful Things. I can swap over. It's fine. No, I haven't written a synopsis or anything.
I haven't written a synopsis for either, so it's absolutely fine.
Okay.
I genuinely, Simone, you can really tell like this has not been my week, like whatsoever.
No, buddy.
This is not my vibe. For our listeners, I got the timing wrong. I uploaded last week's episode last night, and I did the wrong sort of captions and everything. It's been an absolute disaster, and clearly I got the wrong movie. No, if you want to rock Leprechaun, I will quickly change over to Needful Things. That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Are you sure? You're fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Go for it.
Cool. Sorry.
No, not your fault. Okay. Definitely my fault. I'm being terrible.
Oh God, I was gonna sneeze. Don't sneeze. Okay. Cool. Leprechaun. Mr. O'Grady, played by Shay Duffin, returns from his mother's funeral in Ireland with a pot of gold that he stole from a leprechaun. Or at least I think he got it fair and square. Like it seems pretty in line with the lore. He captured 100. A leprechaun, forced it to show him where the gold is. He got the gold. He's come back to America. But this leprechaun is fucking not having it.
No.
He's just called Leprechaun, played by Warwick Davis. He is pissed. He follows O'Grady all the way back to America and promptly murders him and his wife, but not before O'Grady's able to trap him in a crate. 10 years later, the farm has been bought by Alex, I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds like the dad's name.
I don't know. It's all, none of these people look like they're supposed to, like, whatever. It's been bought by a dude who is going to be fixing up the farm with his ungrateful daughter, Tori, played by Jennifer Aniston. she's all set to leave. She's like, oh my God, I hate it here. This is disgusting. And then she meets the hunky painter repair guy, Nathan, played by Ken Oland. And she's like, oh, maybe we can stick it out. Naturally, they somehow manage to awaken the leprechaun, and he is freed. What follows is a super fun horror comedy where Tori and Alec and Nathan, as well as Ozzy and Alex, played by Matt Holton and Robert High Gorman, are trying to like help this leprechaun find his gold because O'Grady managed to hide it before he died. They're also trying to escape the leprechaun's horrible murderous antics. They're running around town. Lots of tiny vehicles are involved. Eventually, they manage to find the gold in the well, but there's one gold piece missing. It is one that Ozzy swallowed. Obviously, they're not going to let the leprechaun get that, and the leprechaun's not a super patient guy. So they have to figure out how to kill him. They find out that to kill him, they need to get a 4-leaf clover on him because that makes him like vulnerable. In the nick of time, they do that. Ozzy sort of sacrifices himself to be able to distract the leprechaun for them to be able to do that. He survives. They kill the leprechaun, but at the end there is a voiceover saying that the leprechaun will return.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah,
man,
that's
and that's why the rest of Spooktober is just going to be Leprechaun sequels. And my absolute favorite that I'm the most looking forward to is Leprechaun in the Hood, which doesn't sound racist at all.
Christ, I don't want to watch that. Thank you so much.
That feels very icky. But before we get into the joys that were this film, what is your cliffhanger for this?
Oh God. My cliffhanger for this is gonna be this one, which is when like Jennifer Aniston is trying to give the leprechaun his gold, and he's like such a dick about it. He's such a dick about everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like to me, this is the bit of the movie that I struggle with.
Right?
I know
Thank
that
you.
this is a horror comedy. I understand that it is a bit satirical and they're just making up some bullshit premise to have a evil, scary leprechaun chase people around. I'm not a dummy. I get it.
Yeah, 100%.
But to me, I think you too, Chad. We both have an overwhelming sense of unfairness.
100%. We really love equity, like throughout everything we watch.
Yeah. Mr. O'Grady got this gold fair and square. Them's the rules.
Yeah,
Are
and it
the
should be in
rules
the end.
bullshit? Absolutely. But, what are
Yeah.
we to do? I'm sure if maybe he had negotiated, if he'd threatened a little bit, he could have gotten his gold right back.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's not the fault of the family that bought the house afterwards that they don't know where the fucking gold is.
Yeah, exactly. Like this just feels like you said, really, really unfair.
Really
Like you've just
unfair.
kind of inherited this land. Well, you didn't inherit it, you
Yeah.
bought the land, and now you've got this fucking gremlin, this leprechaun shithead who's just like, oh, where's me gold? Where's me gold? With the worst Irish accent, but we'll get
And you're
on
like,
to
I don't
that.
know where your gold is. Like, let's sit
Yeah.
and figure this out for a fucking second.
Yeah, buddy, it's been 10 years. Like, calm down. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way. That was something that really bugged me. And I literally said this out loud. All of this could be evolved if there was just a little bit resolved really quickly. If there was just a little bit of conversation and a communication.
Yeah.
If even when the leprechaun got his gold back, if he had just been like, gone to Jennifer Aniston and the rest of the cast and crew and just been like, hey, there's a piece missing. Do you know where it is? And they would have been like, and then Ozzy would have been like, oh shit, I swallowed that. And like, give me, 2 days. I'll get it right back to you. Clean, spick and pan. And then we would have been fine. No one had to die. But there was just such a lack of communication on the leprechaun's part. And it was very upsetting.
Yeah. No wonder he lost all his gold the first time. He's bad at things.
Exactly.
Except he did pick up how to drive a lot of miniature vehicles very quickly.
So my question about that, right, is so he goes into the shed to make one of the vehicles. So does he actually make it? Because it sounds like that's what he was doing in the shed.
I think everything he does is just excused as like leprechaun magic. And you know what? I think with this movie, Chad, the trick is we can't get bogged down in the details. This is just a hilarious romp of a very scary leprechaun doing his thing and being a silly boy. And that's all you need to see it as.
Yeah, that's fair. That is a fair. Otherwise, there is a lot that can really just make no sense whatsoever. But overall, you know what? Enjoyable. It was
Sure.
all you could ask for from a film about a leprechaun looking for his gold.
If this is your vibe, more power to you. I personally hate annoying villains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's why I don't particularly like Chucky either.
Right.
Just anytime that they're like cute, funny, evil,
It's just not your
I don't
vibe.
know, doesn't work for me. Doesn't work.
Like, that's fair enough. Yeah, I completely understand, and especially because of how frustrating this movie is, in the fact that
Oh my God.
it's the rules are very illogical,
Yes,
from
they're
start to finish.
unfair.
Yeah, very, very unfair. I will say, lovely to see a young Jennifer Aniston in this. Did not
Yes,
see that
this was
coming.
her first feature film ever.
Wow, that is
She's apparently very
amazing.
embarrassed about that fact.
I think it's a lovely fact. I think she should own it,
Yeah,
because you know what?
I think so too.
This film has become a cult classic, right? Like, everyone knows Leprechaun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, she should really lean into it. I wonder how Warwick Davis feels about this film.
So he originally also hated that he did it.
Mhm.
But then the movie did really well because Jennifer Aniston obviously got really successful on Friends. So people like
Yeah.
were buying it and renting it, and it ended up being one of his most successful movies of all time.
Wow.
And then obviously it got picked up for sequels and stuff, and he actually just got super into it. He loved it. He always had a ton of fun with the role, and he loved like all the like there are some really excellent directors and costume designers involved with all of this and makeup effects people. So he really liked it.
Oh, that's really nice. What
Yeah.
a turnaround. Good on him. Good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the Leprechaun in itself, like the makeup and everything. It was just so
Yeah.
wonderfully 1990s, and it was just great, like
Yeah.
floppy fingers, faces that don't move, and yeah, just outrageous
It took
outfit, and it
him.
was great.
I was reading all the trivia for this.
Uh-huh.
It took him 3 hours to get into the leprechaun makeup
Good
and 40
Lord.
minutes to get it all off.
Flipping heck, that is
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. Goodness.
So power to him.
Power to him. Yeah. What were your favorite bits of the film? Because I know overall there was like it was just the injustice of it all. It was not your vibe, but like specific bits of the
Should we
film that
call
you were
this like
favorite.
my golden nugget, so to speak?
Why not?
My
Why
lucky
not? Yeah.
charm.
Your lucky
My-
charm at the end of the rainbow. Your magical
Yeah.
golden bag of gold.
You know what? I actually thought that the relationship between Ozzy and Alex was kind of
So
fun.
cute. So cute.
Fun. So Ozzy is this man who, I guess, it's implied that he's like pretty developmentally disabled. I want to say, yeah, or he's mentally handicapped. I'm sorry, or neurodivergent. I'm not using the right term.
We're trying. You're trying. I think that's what counts.
Yeah. So he's and Alex is like this fast-talking, sassy kid, and they're like just a kind of fun duo.
Yeah.
Who are like really nice to each other. Actually, like Alex is really nice to Ozzy, and like they get along really well. They're just like it's a weird idea for a friendship in a movie, but it works really well.
Yeah, it's super cute, and like there's that really like touching scene when Alex reveals that he's found the gold, and Jennifer Aniston's character is like, "Why the fuck are you keeping it?" Blah blah blah, and Alex is just like, "Oh, we want to take and get Ozzy his brain fixed. We want to take him to a hospital and get him an operation," and it's just like this really sweet moment because he's like, "I know we can't do it, but he doesn't know we can't fix his brain," and it's just like, "Fuck you two, you guys are so cute together." Like,
how dare you?
I love their name of their company as well. 3 Guys That Paint. Great name. Simple, perfect. That's what I want. Like, absolutely.
There's a moving company down here called 2 Guys and a Truck.
Great. Just keep it simple.
That's what I'm looking for.
That's all you need. Yeah. 2 guys, a truck. Perfect. Yeah. 3 guys that paint. That's all I need. Yeah. My golden nugget for this one is definitely, I think, Jennifer Aniston's character. Just overall, she's just like this, she starts off, this horribly awful human being who just doesn't want to get
She's
involved, and then
thoroughly unlikable throughout.
no ways, like I love her towards like the switch once like the leprechaun is
Yeah.
revealed, and she's just like,
Sure.
she's just trying her best. She's this LA Valley girl, and she just like finds the hot guy, and she just wants to change. And you know what? That's great. Good on her.
Yeah, I guess I like that she kind of leaned into being like a little bit ridiculous and a little bit
Mhm.
over the top with the beginning, with like how spoiled and silly
Yeah.
she is. I think it
Yeah.
actually really lent something to the movie.
Definitely. I can't fault a single character in this, because they're all like,
Mm-mm.
they all just make up this beautiful sort of tapestry of great victims for a horror film. It's great.
Yeah, and very
Yeah.
few of them actually die. I think the only one that
Yeah.
dies is the dude who gets pogo sticked at the beginning.
Him and the cop. The cop dies as
Oh,
well.
and the cop. Yeah.
In the
Eh.
most ridiculous chase scene I've ever seen in my life. Why would you run through a forest when there's a leprechaun chasing you, and then stop when you see his hat on the ground? Like, that's on you, pal.
It's
I
so
didn't feel
silly. Yeah.
like, as soon as he stopped for the hat, like, then I was like, all right,
Yeah.
cool. No, you deserve to die. Like, you have no choice in the matter.
Classic.
Like,
Yeah.
that was on you. Yeah, straight up. The pogo stick death as well was really rough. Like, I felt for him there.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. I mean, the moment he picks up the pogo stick, you're like, oh God. But sure, that's the fun of it, guys. I don't mean
Exactly.
to be a killjoy. I get it.
Yeah, it's just not our vibe. It's not our vibe at all. So along that basis, would you recommend it?
Sure. If you like tiny small people chasing grown-up people and try to be cute and funny about it, like absolutely
Mhm.
check this out. It's a cult classic for a reason. It really
Mhm.
does have some gems. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I would also recommend it. I think it's one of those things, like, if you are a horror lover, this is
Mm,
one of the films that you have to
you
see.
gotta check
Just
it out.
It's
Yeah.
not going to be
Take it off your
scary,
list.
but it's like The Room, for us.
Yeah.
You have to have seen it because you're a movie watcher. You love movies. This is what you do. Leprechaun along the same
Mhm.
basis, and I'm very, very happy that we finally got around to actually watching it, because I don't
Yeah.
know when I would have ever been in the mood to be like, ah, fuck it, let's just watch this film. So I'm glad like we were almost forced to watch it for this, because now we can say we've
Yeah.
done that cult classic and it's over. And I would recommend it to anyone else, especially because it is spooky season now. You're looking for horror movies, you want a little bit of
Mm,
downtime, maybe like a palate cleanser.
yeah.
You've watched all the scary shit that's going on right now, and you just need
Mm,
that little bit of a palate cleanser. This is it. This is that film.
yeah. Check it on. Check it out.
Yeah, do it. Well, thank you very much, Simone. That was a lot of fun.
Huh. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I think solid start to Spooktober.
Yes. Now,
Um,
could I offer
yes.
you this microphone, and in exchange, I need you to murder Rudy?
Uh, mm, mm, no?
But this microphone will make you the top 1% of podcasters in the world. But the
In
only
my heart,
catch.
Chad.
Yeah.
In my heart, Chad, we're already the top 1% of podcasters in the world.
Oh, look at that. That was a beautiful turnaround
Look at that.
Oh, I loved it.
On a
All right.
bit.
On a bit, yeah. All right. I have not written a synopsis for this, so this is going to be a bit janky. But
You
hey,
can get super high level with it if you want.
look, I'm gonna try my best, and let's see what
Yeah.
happens. So we are in Castle Rock for this one, one of Stephen King's all-time favorite places to write a story. You've got Sheriff Alan Pangborn, played by Ed Harris, who is the local
Yep.
sheriff. And he's this cool, smart talking guy. He's in from the city, and he's so sick of everyone's shit because, the city was a horrible place. And he also hit someone really, 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 really hard and killed them. So now he's trying to take a beat. He's gone to Castle Rock with this like small town where nothing ever happens, and he can just chill and enjoy himself. He is also dating Polly Chalmers, played by Bonnie Bedelia, who is a waitress in the local sort of Greasy Spoon. And she's got this horrible, horrible arthritis, like really, really, really bad arthritis. That's kind of debilitating, and that's kind of her shtick. She is assisted by someone, Nettie Cobb, played by Amanda Plummer, who is this really like shy lady. She's very sort of withdrawn, very nervous, very jumpy. But the reason is because she had like a complete mental breakdown a couple years ago when she accidentally, in complete self-defense, killed her husband. So she's like kind of like, very nervous and very sort of whatever. She's got a bit of beef with Wilma Jerzik, who's played by Valerie Bromfeld, who is the local turkey farmer. She's very crazy, very uppity on herself, and like just like a mental aggressive human being, just very, very rough. Then the final list of sort of important characters is Danforth Keaton III, played by JT Walsh, who is the local businessman. He's sort of like the mayor of the town, kind of, not like de facto. He's not actually the mayor of the town.
Yeah.
He's a super rich guy. He's a bit of an asshole as well. And he's actually, secretly on the sly embezzling money from the town. Oh, and of course, then you got Brian Rusk, who is the kid in this film, played by Shane Mayer. He's just this like lovely little kid who's just like, a little scrappy dude, little whatever. So one day, during things, a new store opens up in Castle Rock called Needful Things. No one kind of knows what this place is about. No one's seen the owner, and everyone's a little bit confused. That is until Brian walks into the shop. It seems to be open, even though the windows are still clouded over. And he walks in and he sees sort of like weird little memorabilia around. No one's in. When suddenly, appearing as if out of the ground itself, is Leland Gaunt, played by Max von Sydow. Leland is this kind of cool older man. He's very nice, and like he seems to weirdly know a lot about people and a lot about their things. And so Brian and him start talking, and essentially Leland is like, what do you want more than anything in the world? What would make you the happiest? And Brian is like, oh, me and my dad used to collect baseball cards. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Leland produces a baseball card of like this really famous baseballer signed to Brian, as if he was at the game himself. This guy's last game. And all that Leland wants in return for giving Brian this card for free is that he does something for him. He enters a deed, a contract to do something. We don't see initially what it is, but we then learn out that he has to go over to Wilma's turkey farm, pick up all the mud and shit, and just spray it all over her clothes. A little bit later, Nettie goes to Needful Things as well. She sees that like there's these beautiful little porcelain figures. She used to have one, but her ex-husband broke it. So, basically Leland is like, you can have it for free, again, in exchange for something. She has to go to Danforth's house and paper it with tickets, because basically saying that like the police know what Danforth has done. So Danforth kind of loses his shit. Wilma's husband has to go and kill Nettie's dog, and essentially the whole vibe that Leland is trying to do is get the whole town to turn against each other, even though no one has directly done anything to the people that they hate. So the whole idea is like Nettie and Vilma have like a fight against each other, yet Nettie doesn't actually do anything directly to Vilma, and Vilma doesn't do anything directly to Nettie, yet they both think that they've done things to each other. Eventually the whole town goes kind of completely fucking mental. They're all killing each other, lots of shenanigans ensuing, and that's when Sheriff Alan Pangborn stands up and he's like, what's the matter with you? Can't you all see that he's fucking doing this? He's the worst, blah, 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 blah. The town realizes that like, they have all gone kind of crazy because of Needful Things and the greed that they've all felt, and, signing these contracts with Leland. Oh, it's also revealed as time goes by that Leland is actually, this immortal being who has been around since like the plague, and even before time. It's just basically sowing chaos and derision within town. And all he does is he just moves on to the next town, causing more trouble, and then moving on and moving on and moving on. So eventually Danforth, in like a suicidal rage, straps a bomb to himself and launches himself at Leland, blowing up needful things and sort of ending things. Unfortunately, from the smoke and flames emerges Leland, and he is unharmed. And he's just like, oh, well, I kind of fucked up. I didn't get this town, but I will be back. And believe me, Sheriff Pangborn, I will be back and I will see your grandson in 2052, where he kills a whole bunch of people, it's implied. And then he walks off into the distance, going to his next town to spread more evil. The end.
The end. What is your cliffhanger off the top of your head?
Yes. So it would have to be this one. And it's the conversation he has with Nettie when he gives her the porcelain doll.
Yeah.
This guy's casting is
So
exceptional.
good.
I
Yeah.
cannot think of another person who
He
is better than
always
this.
plays like the sinister old dude so well.
Like, I couldn't be more impressed by him, and
Mhm.
yeah, his voice was just so crisp for this, and
Mhm.
yeah, it was absolutely perfect. Like, I couldn't be more ecstatic. I mean, to be fair, the whole casting for this was awesome. You've got some really nice big
Yeah.
names in this, and
Ed
it's just
Harris,
great.
man.
Yeah, friend of the podcast, he was on here for National Treasure 2. He was the bad guy in that, which was
Man.
fun. Yeah, he hasn't aged a day either. He's looking
Yeah.
great. Very impressed by him.
Yeah, no, he also looks fantastic. Oh, well, I think he's aged very well. He really like his
Mhm.
cheekbones have definitely become more pronounced.
Mhm.
And he
Which
himself
we
is now good at playing creepy, scary older men. So that's fun.
it's all a circle. That's what an
The
actor's life is all
circle.
about. You're the main guy, and then you become the creepy old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh,
So what are your thoughts
if
on
you're
this one?
lucky.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was very 90s and very old
Mhm.
school Stephen King in that
Mhm.
it is a little slow, takes place in a town,
Uh-huh.
and you have to just stick with it. That's the trick with these movies, right? Like
Right,
you got
right.
to get past the 45-minute mark
Yeah.
into a 2-hour movie. Because first you're like, why the fuck do I have to meet all these people? Why do I have to know their
Mhm.
backstories? And it's like trust, it matters.
Mhm.
It matters.
100%.
They're following a very specific structure.
It's the Stephen King structure. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the Stephen King structure. And yeah, so I had to tell myself, like, Simone, calm down, be patient with it. It's
Mhm.
okay. And I ended up actually really enjoying it. It's a pretty solid classic 90s Stephen King movie.
Mhm.
Like if you want the formula, you could do worse than this.
Exactly. I would say that from a 90s Stephen King movie, this is one of the better ones because
Mm,
it's so especially towards like the 90s, like maybe the early like the 80s, the 80s Stephen King
mm,
movies were good. For some
yeah,
reason, I think it was just like the wild time, and they just kind of chose the best movies,
yeah,
sort of like Cujo, Carrie, that kind of thing, where you were just like, and it,
yeah, yeah,
where you had the 80s mental attitude, drug and sex fueled,
yeah,
crazy times mixed with film, which kind of worked. And
yeah,
then you went into the 90s, and you had these slow burners, which you're just like,
yeah,
oh, okay, this is not the fast paced ride that I was looking for of Stephen King in
yeah,
his heyday, but it was still really fun. And yeah, it's
yeah,
it's like you said, it's a slow burn, like all Stephen King's things are. I mean, if you look at a Stephen King book, there's very few under 400 pages, and this is the reason why he likes to develop each and every character. He wants you
yeah,
to know their birth story, what they did when they were
yeah,
11. Yeah, because it's all rich, and it just gives it such a good flavor, which
yeah.
is sometimes hard to translate into a film.
Hmm. I stand to be corrected, but I also wonder if this wasn't sort of him very much settling into the style that we know him for now.
Yeah.
Um, like obviously, The Shining and
Hmm.
all the other like movies that came before it. Those were very different and very sensational and clearly about a struggle with addiction. Um, Whereas I feel like since then, a lot of what Stephen King has put out is these like slow burn, small
Hmm.
town mystery horrors. And I mean, I totally stand to be corrected. I'm obviously not a Stephen King historian. Um, but I wonder if this wasn't like the beginnings of him actually
Yeah.
really settling into that style and like finding the rhythm that he really enjoys.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and you can definitely tell, like, you say settling into the style, but it's also settling into sobriety. And this is
Yeah.
definitely, you can feel that this is the time where he's just like, yo, I need to stop with the drugs, like,
Yeah. And I
it's-
also, a lot of people, well, a popular, I think, edgelord thing for people to say about
Mhm.
Stephen King is like, oh, his books were so much better when he was hooked on drugs, which, like, first of all, like, fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, great, yeah, he's not a fucking puppet, yeah,
His books were good in spite of that, not because of
absolutely,
that.
yes,
And I would argue that he's actually also written some really good, like super haunting stuff since he's
hmm
been sober. You just haven't heard about it as much because he's so fucking prolific.
exactly, like when a Stephen
Um,
King book comes out, it's more like, all right, well, we're just going to etch this into history straight away, like it's an
yeah,
automatic
cool.
classic, yeah, like
Yeah,
it's
just
not
give him an
sensational.
HBO series.
Yeah, it's not sensational because yeah,
Yeah,
back in his, drug days, he was still like establishing himself. I mean, he was only
yeah,
40 when Carrie got published. So
yeah.
like, of course it's gonna take a bit of time. Plus, like, he's a bit slower with his writing now because he's gotten so much older and he's just like taking his
And he's
time with
doing
it.
things.
Yeah,
Busy
exactly.
flaming people on Twitter. It's great.
And we still love him as much as we did, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And yeah. No, you're so right. And it's lovely to see like the turn of Stephen King and like
Mm,
how he's changed his writing style and everything. And
yeah.
this movie is a really good example of that. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love the idea of Needful Things, of this sort of like,
Mm,
what is the ultimate price you would pay for everything that you want kind of thing. It's
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even just like I guess it's also that like rabbit hole of like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
Like people are aware they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, but it feels so small at the time
Yeah.
that any repercussions, like they can almost distance themselves from it, except obviously for
Mhm.
poor Brian, who is riddled with guilt.
Oh, poor Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sad. I was very glad that he didn't die though. That was a great twist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently he does in the book, so
Right. That was my next question.
yeah.
I was going to ask you whether you had read the book or not because I haven't. I've
Mm-mm,
got it sitting on
no.
my shelf, but I haven't had a chance yet.
Mm-mm,
Haven't
no,
had
I haven't. I
haven't had the
haven't read
pleasure.
it. I just read the trivia, and apparently he does.
Ah.
He does die in the book, but everyone's like, "We can't have a small child kill himself on screen," and everyone was like, "Yeah, fair enough. Fair. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay."
okay. Yeah. I wonder that happens a lot with Stephen King. It's like with it and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ever
The
famous sex scene.
Yes.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
can't.
People are
Like
just like, Steven, no.
Stephen, come on, guy. We realize you seriously have some issues with children, and I really do feel for Joe
Mm,
and the rest of the brood, the King brood, because obviously there's some like
they're
deep
fine.
psychological issue here.
Fine.
Yeah, it's like my favorite thing that you've ever told me from a tweet that you read. Did you have a good childhood or are you funny? And it's very much the King children have that kind of same kind of vibe where it's like, did you have a good childhood or was your dad one of the greatest horror writers of all time and now you also need to do the same thing?
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. We're back. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, it's like, did you have a good childhood or are you good at writing horror?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Our trauma is what makes us. Oh, goodness me. So golden nugget for this one. What are we looking at?
golden nugget for this one. I thought Amanda Plummer's performance was
Mhm.
fantastic. She played Nettie.
Mm.
Just so good the whole way through. I think she
Smashed
really
it.
got the character spot on. In general, actually, the casting for this was fantastic. Everybody knew the assignment, and delivered. It's actually a supremely well acted, especially for a horror movie, which
Yeah.
people tended to not want to get involved in.
Yeah.
It's really cool that they got all these fantastic actors in, and they did a great job.
Yeah, they smashed it. They smashed it out of the park. It did feel like everyone was on board and like everyone was on the same wavelength. And it was a beautiful piece of work, really, really excellent piece of work. I was going into this like very nervous because, you know, pre-2000s horror, it can be a bit touch and go,
It's luck of the
especially
draw.
especially when it's a smaller budget film like this. But fuck me, they nailed it. I mean, yeah, incredible. Golden Nugget for me is definitely sort of like Leland's change. So like when he's like a good guy, he's very prim, he's like looks really nice and everything. And then when he's in his like devil mode and he's got the fingernails and his teeth are rotten and all of that, and it's just brilliant. It's
fantastic.
So subtle but so good. So good. And like the newspaper with all the like doom and gloom shit on it is just
and his little
so subtle, brilliant.
notebook.
Yeah, and his little notebook, brilliant, absolutely.
Apparently,
brilliant.
there's an Easter egg in there where he's flipping through the pages, and in one of the pages says Port Elizabeth and Nelson Mandela underneath.
No ways.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Very fun.
That's awesome. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, brilliant. Excellent. And then finally, would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think if it's your vibe. Otherwise, like, to be honest, I think there are places where you can see this formula a lot better, and like it's a little less slow. It's a bit less of that like 90s storytelling where it's people just looking mildly concerned for an hour. Like if you like this kind of thing, I would definitely recommend maybe rather checking out Castle Rock. Midnight Mass actually at the moment is doing really, really well with that small town spooky vibes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're happy to wait, if you're ready to be patient, if you want to see some good acting, I think this is the movie to watch.
No, I agree with you. I would definitely recommend this in the fact that like, yeah, it's very much like the Leprechaun. It's one of those things. It's like, you know, you've got to watch it if you're a horror fan. And if you want to be called sort of like a horror aficionado, this is definitely in that repertoire. You've got to have it. And it's just lovely. I mean, I don't know. I would say maybe read the book first. He says not having read the book first, just to get like the full flavor of a Stephen King, and then just go into this knowing exactly what's going to happen and just enjoying seeing your characters brought to life. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah,
Absolutely brilliant.
Perfect.
Well, there we go, Simone. We have laid the foundations. The concrete is settling on this Spooktober, and now we are ready to build a spooky house of horrors. I am so happy for the rest of this month.
And boy, do I have a nice, let's say, a nice spire to add to our house of horrors.
Ooh, spooky. What are your spire? Talk me through it.
You're either gonna love me or absolutely hate me. But I thought, you know how last year we did Unfriended, the first, even though like they weren't bad, but we just really wanted to talk about them.
Yes.
This is my Unfriended of this year. And I want to do Escape Room.
Ooh, yes. I've been wanting to check it out.
Escape Room 2 is out.
Okay.
And I know you'll love it because we have very similar tastes in horror. And I'm so excited. Also, this is just a nice reason for me to watch the second one.
I completely agree. And the first one, I haven't actually seen it. So my issue with this, right, is because there is another movie called Escape Room that came out like a while back, and so I always get confused. So I mean, any chance that you have the years on this one? So obviously 2020.
It would have been recent. Yeah, 2021.
Okay.
And then I think the other one came out like either 2019 or 2020, like also super, super recent.
Let me have a look. So Tournament of Champions is this year's one.
Yeah.
And then it looks like it was 2019.
Excited.
Yeah, 2019.
2019 makes sense.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Yes, this is very exciting. I love a good escape room.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
I'm so ready.
And
ready.
You and I love a horror that's like a game with rules that people have to play and have to be sneaky clever about.
Yes, absolutely. So ready for this. Yes. And then we will be thinking of our ways that we would have gotten out of this. So ready for it. Yes. Oh, lovely. Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate you. We hope you're having a great Spooktober so far. And we hope that it continues into Halloween and it's all spooky, ooky, and wonderful. And if you do want to write to us about whatever you're doing for your holiday plans, for your spooky October plans, what are you doing if the fall season is upon you? Are you
Yeah.
getting lots of pumpkins and other gourds? Let us know. And where can they do that, Simone?
They can talk to us on Facebook or Instagram at Fresh Tomatoes Podcast, on Twitter at Fresh Tomatoes MP, and they can email us at freshtomatoespodcast@gmail.com.
There you have it. And as we say at the end of every episode, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Bye.